We're all familiar with naked bikes. Some of the more popular examples are essentially fairingless sport bikes with upright handlebars. These include the Honda CB650R, Suzuki SV650, and Triumph Trident. But if these bikes don't provide enough speed and performance, you can always step up to the world of super nakeds, which include bikes with names like Speed Triple, S1000R, and 1290 Super Duke. With horsepower that climbs well above 150 and enough torque to alter Earth's rotation, these bikes are no-compromise high-performance speed machines. But progress is hard to contain, and in the world of naked bikes, super will no longer cut it. We are now in the world of the hyper-naked. And no, I am not talking about the Yamaha MT-10. While plenty powerful and capable, sorry Yamaha, it's not a hyper-naked. But it's this, the Ducati Streetfighter V4S. With Ducati's luscious V4 engine and aerodynamic bits tightly fitted, in today's video we take the Streetfighter V4S for a ride and see what it has to offer. Before we begin, we'd like to give a huge shout out to Motorcycles of Charlotte in Charlotte, North Carolina for letting us spend some time with this Ducati Streetfighter V4S. Motorcycles of Charlotte has a nice selection of new and used motorcycles and is home to premium brands such as BMW, MV Agusta, and Ducati. So if you're in the market for a new ride, be sure to check out the folks at Motorcycles of Charlotte. The Ducati Streetfighter is based on the same platform as the brand's Panigale V4, and just like the Panigale, it comes in two varieties, the V4 and V4S. But this isn't Ducati's first venture into the world of top-end nakeds. Most recently, Ducati stripped the fairings off of its Panigale 1098 to create the Streetfighter 1098. And while that bike offered plenty of power and premium components, it did lack a little bit of refinement. But that's no longer the case in this latest generation Streetfighter. The range starts with the $19,995 V4, with Showa and Sachs providing the suspension and steering components. Step up to the V4S like the one we have here, and the price rises to $25,495. The suspension is upgraded to an Öhlings Nix 30 front fork and a TTX 36 rear shock. And Öhlings also provides the steering damper. The V4S loses 4 pounds over the V4, giving it a curb weight of 439 pounds. And there's also a special SP trim. If you're interested in the SP, that'll set you back $35,500. The front lighting assembly is full LED, and the overall front design is inspired by the comic book character the Joker and looks to mimic his grin. The rear tail lamp is also distinct, with an aerodynamic cutout on each side. This particular bike has been equipped with a fender eliminator, giving it a tidier look. Excluding the front bodywork and the slim fairings on the side of the radiator, the rest of the Streetfighter is bare. That means the engine and mechanical components are readily visible to onlookers. All Streetfighters come in Ducati Red. This dark stealth color option is only available on the V4S trim. The V4S also has upgraded forged 17-inch alloy wheels, wrapped in a 120/70 Rosa Corsa up front and a meaty 260 Pirelli tire in the rear. Braking is handled by dual 330mm disc gripped by Brembo monoblock Stylema 4-piston calipers in the front, and a 2-piston caliper biting a 245mm disc in the rear. These brakes are top shelf and provide a tremendous amount of braking power and come standard with Bosch cornering ABS. The button layout on the handlebars is straightforward once you get used to them. The 5-inch TFT display is bright and clear and provides plenty of information. If you're curious about how much technology is packed into this bike, spend a few minutes clicking through the menus and you'll quickly realize there's more there than you'll ever use. There's buttons on the left handlebar for the lights, turn signals, and menu navigation. And on the right are controls for the engine start, stop, and ignition. There's also a button for heated grips, but keep in mind you have to pay extra for this option. Using the key, you can remove the passenger seat and reveal a completely useless space. The Streetfighter V4S has a seat height of 33.3 inches. Having a comfortable riding position is an essential trait amongst the best naked bikes. Ducati adjusted the foot peg position, added more padding to the saddle, and installed a tall and flat handlebar. These changes make the Streetfighter V4S a bike that you can comfortably ride for hours at a time. Keep in mind, this being a naked, there is very little wind protection. So while the seating position and saddle are both very comfortable, riding on the highway for an extended period of time can quickly become exhausting. The riding position is still a bit aggressive for a naked bike, but I never felt cramped while riding. Both the V4 and V4S share the same 1103cc Desmo Sedici Stradale V4 engine, also found in the Panigale V4 and V4S. However, the programming for the maps is different, and the Streetfighter has a shorter final drive. The engine puts out a massive 208 horsepower and 90.4 pound-feet of torque. When it comes to nakeds, only MV Agusta's Brutale 1000RR can match the Streetfighter regarding horsepower. I found that as intimidating as the stats and price tag make the Streetfighter, it's surprisingly easy to ride around town. The bike feels compact and light, and the engine is laid back whenever you need it to be. The standard up and down quick shifter flies through the gears, and the throttle is smooth while being responsive. From a standstill, I noticed that sometimes there was a bit of engine stutter, but it was minor, and with over 60 pound-feet of torque being available as low as 4,000 RPM, the Streetfighter is always ready to pull you around any turn or from any speed. The suspension is also a thing of beauty, with the active O-leans and steering damper soaking up every and anything the street could throw at it. The chassis is exceptionally well balanced mid-corner or when you're rocketing down a straight. The Streetfighter is certainly not a beginner's bike. The price tag alone should be enough to deter first-time riders. But if you have a bit of experience under your belt and find yourself on top of one of these animals, you will notice how friendly it is. The Streetfighter has 3 ride modes: Street, Sport, and Race. More so than any other motorcycle I've ridden with adaptive suspension and ride modes, the Streetfighter V4S has noticeably different personalities in each mode. In Street, I could feel the suspension actively adjusting to engage with the road and provide the best riding experience. Sport mode brought all the components to life, and I immediately felt the suspension tighten, but it was still willing to loosen under certain conditions. Race mode was completely too stiff for me on public streets, but I imagine it would be a blast on a closed circuit. Ducatis are known for getting hot, and while I did notice some heat starting to build up after sitting at a stoplight for a bit, the Streetfighter seems to cool well when on the move. These biplane wings generate 62 pounds of downforce at 168 miles per hour, 44 pounds up front and 18 pounds in the rear. They also help cool the V4 engine by increasing the airflow rates through the cooling system. Overall, the fit and finish of the Streetfighter V4S is superb. The paint is high quality, the bolts and accessories all use good materials, and when you're in the saddle, you truly get the sense that you're riding something special. The engine and exhaust sound great, and there's somewhat of a traditional Ducati 2-cylinder sound at the lower RPMs, but as you climb into the revs, you get a noticeably distinct V4 wail. It might sound crazy to say, but for a bike that makes 200 horsepower, it's not that terrifying to ride fast around town. Part of that is due to the electronics in street mode, which help keep everything tame. And the other part is due to the fact that most of the power is made higher up in the RPM range. And with a rev limit of 14,500, it's not feasible to ride this bike anywhere near the limit unless you're the type of person that enjoys breaking traffic laws and averaging triple-digit speeds on public streets. Pull the throttle for just a couple of seconds in any gear, and the numbers on the speedo will quickly reach the century mark. In third gear, that leaves you with still another 3,000 to 4,000 RPMs to go. It reminds me a lot of another 200 horsepower bike I rode last year, BMW's S1000RR. That bike was also quite easy to ride above 100 miles per hour and in higher RPMs without much drama. I'm very taken by this bike, as everything about it on paper suggests it would be unapproachable, but this is a very easy to ride motorcycle and something I could live with every day. Sure, there are some things that are completely unnecessary, as you would expect from a bike costing well over $20,000. But I feel as though all of those individual bits, the styling, electronics, and ridiculous horsepower numbers, when combined, make this bike well worth its asking price. I'd imagine less powerful bikes like the Super Duke R and Yamaha MT-10 may provide a more visceral experience. Much like BMW has done with their latest S1000RR, Ducati has completely over-engineered this bike, so much so that it's lacking quite a bit of character, and may not appeal to someone that wants a more primal experience. But if you're interested in a bike that screams high class, and offers tons of technology, speed, refinement, and is truly worthy of being called a hyper naked, the Ducati Streetfighter V4S should be at the top of your list of bikes to take for a ride. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. You can also find us on Instagram at rideXdrive.